and this guy felt my low back. He leaned me over and moved the bone. I heard a sound, and I got up, and all my pain was gone. Traditional medicine, I think, started out on the wrong premise, breaking down the body to its parts. A holistic approach is looking at a being as one. So I think it's a failed premise, and it's made healthcare costs skyrocket while we become sicker and sicker on the list of the World Health Organization. Is what we're after is causation. Whether it's cancer or a headache, what's the causation?
Dr. Joe Esposito is a leading figure in holistic healthcare, and today he shares some startling insights into our current healthcare system and the power of chiropractic care.
If you have humility in healthcare, which is missing in healthcare, practitioners work together. There's so much to learn, and there's big research on there. If you go to a surgeon first, the chance of surgery is like 60%. Chiropractic first, chance of surgery is like less than 1%.
These are just some of the eye-opening truths that Dr. Joe reveals in our conversation.
You align your spine, you align your health, you align your life. Because when you lose your health, you have all the goals in the world. When you lose your health, you only have one goal: to regain your health.
Dr. Joe, at The Life Edge, our mission is to help people learn, grow, and succeed by finding their edge in life, the thing that makes them unique. What would you say is your edge in life?
I guess my overall edge in life that I feel is helping people become more self-aware of their current thoughts and behaviors, because it impacts their actions and their outcomes in life. So whether it's healthcare, finance, business, whatever it may be, I expose self-awareness around people's thoughts and behaviors to change their life.
As I was doing research on this episode and preparing, getting to know you a bit, and we've had prior conversations, I discovered you own AlignLife, Chiropractic and Natural Healthcare. You also have a supplement company, Aceva Nutrition. And I was just curious, as we jump in, what is your vision, your view currently as far as traditional medicine versus functional and natural medicine?
Traditional medicine, I think, started out on the wrong premise. It was allopathic, is breaking down the body to its parts and fixing it like you would fix a car or a machine. Tire problem, you focus on the tires. Transmission problem, you focus on transmission. That's allopathic. That's separating the parts. A holistic approach is looking at a being as one. I would love to say you could take the human body and separate it to its part, but unfortunately, a lot of headaches are caused by gut problems. So if you just looked at the head through an MRI at a Mayo Clinic, you're going to miss a lot of the causes of headaches. Allergies, gut function, toxicity can cause headaches, and you may not find anything when you do your MRI of the brain. So I think it's a failed premise, and it's made healthcare costs skyrocket while we become sicker and sicker on the list of the World Health Organization as healthiest countries. We keep dropping as we spend more, which tells me a failed premise just by the nature of logic thought.
Now, you're a doctor of chiropractic care.
Yes.
And we've had conversations, and I've been skeptic, and I've told you a bit about that. But what are some of the common misconceptions you deal with right now currently regarding chiropractic care?
I guess number one is it's risky. Number one, you can get hurt. Like is it safe or unsafe? That's one. Another one is you have to go forever as a concept, and those are probably the two top ones. Is the safety of it and efficacy? Does it even work? Like those would be the three top things.
And so on that efficacy part of it, why did you become a chiropractor?
Well, I was kidnapped to a chiropractor. I said I was going to be a surgeon. I thought they were quacks. I said I'd never go to a chiropractor. How are they actually doing anything by cracking backs? That's so silly. And I was in severe pain as a high school kid. I was going to be a surgeon. And as a wrestler, I tried pole vaulting. And I couldn't move my back. I couldn't wrestle. I was on meds for 6 months. My grades went down. And my wrestling coach asked my mother, asked me if we wanted to go to chiropractic. I said, I'll never go there. So he talked to my mother, and he got a permission slip from her, and after practice, he says, we're going to the chiropractor. So I'm not going to a chiropractor. He says, yes, you are. I have a slip. I go, you're kidnapping me to a chiropractor? He said, yes, get in the car. So my wrestling coach took me to a chiropractor, and I met this guy, and it was in a small little home. It was kind of odd, and I went in, and this guy felt my low back. He leaned me over and moved a bone. I heard a sound, and I got up, and all my pain was gone. After 6 months, and all these medications, and all these MRIs, and all these tests, and I was like, it's all the way gone. How the heck did this guy in this little house with no machinery, no MRI, no white coat, no big building, get all my pain gone in a split second? I didn't understand. And they explained it to me, and then I became such an advocate. I was so frustrated no one told me about this when I was drugged with all these different drugs for 6 months. So I flipped from this big skeptic to a massive advocate in a second.
So what were you being told by the doctor then was your issue and the cause of your pain?
You have muscle lumbago, which is Latin for back pain. What they do a lot in medicine is they convert your words into Latin and you think they have a solution. So it's like fibromyalgia. Thank God they found my cause. It's fibromyalgia. What does fibromyalgia mean in Latin? It means muscle pain. Well, I knew I had muscle pain. They said it to me in Latin and thought we had a solution. So most of the time we just convert it. Gastritis. Oh my God, you solved my problem. It means stomach pain in Latin. So converting it to Latin doesn't solve problems. And too often in medicine they just get a name. But what we're after is causation. Whether it's cancer or a headache, what's the causation? That's really what the conversation should be. Not naming recognition. It's cause. We have to find cause. So they gave me muscle relaxers, and then anti-inflammatories, and then stronger muscle relaxers, then physical therapy, and back and forth for 6 months. But no one ever told me, maybe check the alignment is off, and the disc swelled up, and you just have to realign that bone, get rid of the swelling, and your pain go away. No one said anything about that.
So dive a little bit more into that and explain to me or help understand the science behind chiropractic care. I get the premise that you're moving things, but what is out of alignment and how are you putting people back into alignment?
So all the energy of the body goes from the brain to the body through the spinal, the spinal cord. Spinal cord is attached to the brain. So the information goes down, sends information to organs. Heart, beat a little faster, you're going up a flight of stairs. Stomach secretes some acid, we just ate a steak. There's messaging from this machinery up here, this computer system, and it's telling things what to do. It's really wild. And then information goes back from the organ to the brain and said, we released some acid, I think we have enough, and the brain says, okay, turn it off. We're up the stairs, we're laying down, slow down the heart. So it's actually going back and forth consistently. Well, that wiring is so delicate, it had to be encased in bone. But to make the human walk, you have to put little cushions between every bone so we can bend and twist. And the cord is moving. This wire is moving as we move. Well, the essence of, number one, we sit all day. We're leaning forward all day. We're sedentary. We're gaining 100 pounds on our abdomen. Do you think we're in cars going really fast, hitting other cars? Do you think there's a chance that those bones could shift just a little bit? Do you think that's reasonable? And if they shift just a little, between every two bones there's a hole. The whole key to this is the hole between the bones is made up of the bone above and bone below. So when those bones shift, the hole changes. It gets smaller because the hole is half of the bone above and half of the one below to make a hole. And when one bone shifts, you decrease the spacing for the nerve that goes to the organ, the muscle, the tissue, and you have dysfunction. What we can't tell you is what's going to happen. All we can tell you is there's dysfunction. Numbness, pain, dysfunction of an organ. We don't know what's going to happen. We just know the body won't function if the brain can't communicate to the body through the nervous system. So we look at it, we feel if one's not moving, we feel heat coming off of the disc. We know there's dysfunction. We use x-ray, we use instruments to measure heat, and then we look at the x-ray to see architecturally, how should we move this bone to get better alignment? Like an architect would look at a blueprint. Change it and let the body heal itself. So we don't do any healing. We don't take any credit. We're like an electrician of the nervous system. We just move something and let the body do its thing, and we step out of the way.
As you were describing that, you talked about measuring things, taking x-rays, feeling things to see if they're in alignment or not. And I can understand that. And so my horror story with the chiropractor, my wife and I got into a car accident. I didn't feel I had any whiplash. There was no soreness of the neck, no pain, nothing like that. I was completely fine. My wife didn't have any soreness, but friends, people around us kept saying, hey, just go to the chiropractor and get checked out in case there's any kind of insurance issues, or if you feel it a week from now, 2 weeks from now, you have it on record, you've been examined by a chiropractor. Well, I don't have a chiropractor. I've never had a need to go to the chiropractor. I've never desired to go to a chiropractor. I don't have pain. I don't walk around in pain, and I wasn't in pain after this car accident. And so, against, at the time, my better judgment, we ended up going to a chiropractor that I just kind of Googled chiropractor and set an appointment. They were connected with our insurance, so I figured, if anything goes wrong, they're all in network and this is going to be good and this and that. And so we walk in. I was brand new. I'd never been to the chiropractor, never had adjustment, never had anything done. And day one, we walk in, I'm there maybe 20, 30 seconds, and he's like, hey, lay down on the table. And I was like, I'm not here for an adjustment. I'm here for an examination. And he's like, no, just lay down on the table. I'm going to do something to it. We'll just let me try it. And I was like, whatever. Maybe there's something he can check laying me down on the table. I get down on the table. He grabs my head, snap. And I come off the table, and I look at him. I was like, if you touch me again, you're not walking out of here breathing. Like, we're done. And I turned around and walked out of the office. And as I'm walking out of the office, they're like, do you need to sign up for your next appointment? You need to sign up for your next thing. And like I said, prior to this, I wasn't in any pain, anything going on. Now I'm walking out after an adjustment. Nobody looked at me. They just set me down on a table and started adjusting things and said, and now I'm walking out with pain. All of that to be said, how does somebody like me who's brand new, already skeptic of it, now I've had this bad taste in my mouth, how do I find a good chiropractor, bad chiropractor? What should people expect on day one? What is that process supposed to look like versus what I got?
Wow, that's great clarity. I want to apologize on behalf of our profession for you seeing a bad chiropractor that did not do the work. And I can tell you stories where I have a patient come in and their 6-year-old is on antidepressants, 2 different antidepressants. That's a bad medical doctor. That doesn't mean I denounce all medicine. It means that guy's not a great practitioner. I've been to a shoemaker that my shoe didn't get fixed. It doesn't mean I'll never go to a shoemaker again. It's like, no shoemakers are good. No, that's not true. That guy was a bad guy. So you went to a bad chiropractor. What you should experience in a chiropractor is the first thing when you go is we got to find out what's the call, what are you here for? What are you trying to solve to see if there's an issue you're trying to solve? And we are into cause and function. So you may say, well, I have this problem of my low back pain, but that's not really why you came in. You came in because you can't play golf. You can't run. We want to know how it affected your life because we want to think function. What are we trying to accomplish? Not just get rid of back pain. That's easy. It's I want to function a certain way and use my body. That's why I walked in your door. So we look at the complaint, which is low back pain. We look at the functional loss that you communicate to us. And then we look at your goals. What do you want to accomplish? I want to get back to running a half marathon. I just want to climb up the stairs with a laundry basket with my hands not being numb. Whatever it is, we want to know what are we trying to accomplish. And then we want to do an exam to see what we find on function of the body. Palpation, instrumentation, x-ray. X-ray tells us how long the problem's been there. Because if you have spurs and arthritis, that didn't happen when you felt pain yesterday. That happened 10 years ago when you had a car accident, and like you said, well, I never had pain. Pain's the last thing to show up. Pain doesn't come right away. You lose function first, pain later. First, there's always dysfunction, then there's the disease process, and then there's a symptom. We in America use symptom as our judgment of health. It's the worst indicator of health is symptomatology. It's the worst thing. Because again, you have disease states before symptoms and you have dysfunction first. We want to go after dysfunction. So when we look at that, then we should present to you. I would say, Chris, remember when you turn your head left, right, you couldn't go left as much, right? You felt that, right? Yes? And then you felt that swelling. Let me show you this x-ray. Can you see this area is where I was touching? Does that make sense? Wow, this is normal. This is where you're at. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense. And then we should lay out a plan that says, this is what we think will take frequency-wise. It must be repeated because your muscle has memory, and we have to change the memory of the tissue. So it does take a repetitive nature like physical therapy, psychotherapy, brushing your teeth, getting a haircut. There's repetition to maintain the human being. So we need that. And then there's an end. This is the end of that cycle, and then we may retake an x-ray and say, let's see changes and do a re-exam. Now, if you choose wellness care, which is getting checked once in a while, because you're sedentary, you're leaning forward, texting, you're going to have stress to the spine, then you can talk about that later. But there should be a beginning and end, an exam, an explanation, and an opportunity to engage. That's kind of what you should have experienced.
And that makes sense to me. You don't take your car to a mechanic and not get asked any questions, and then they just start replacing your engine for you. You have to determine what's going on. And I felt that part was missing immediately when I walked through the door.
Yeah, what a shame. Sorry that you went through that. I hope there's an opportunity. I'm going to invite you on air here for you to come to Puerto Rico, and I'll show you good chiropractic.
Well, I'll have to take you up on that just to come to Puerto Rico. We could do the chiropractic care too. That one works.
Yeah.
So what are the different types of chiropractic care? When I was doing some research, it seemed like there was more than one. And then what type of chiropractic care do you practice?
It's interesting. I was just in Colombia, did a mission trip and provided chiropractic care for a week down there. And there was 5-6 different practitioners, and they were using different styles of chiropractic. Just like surgery, you can use laser, a scalpel. You can use different types of ways of doing surgery. Definitely artists, they have finger paint and oil paints, and there's different ways of painting a picture. Chiropractic, because we're using our hands to create movement or alignment, there's people that use an instrument to make that force because it's reproducible. People that use their hands. There's some people that just focus on certain areas of the spine, like the first vertebra in the spine that houses the stem of the brain. So when you have a little pressure on there, you have ADHD issues, chronic headaches, balance problems, you name it. There's so much nerve function at that point. Some doctors only focus on that upper area. I practice a technique called Gonstead technique, which checks the full spine using about 5 different criteria. And that's what you were missing. You had no criteria to the adjustment. They should have multiple things that they're checking and saying, these all match, this is the area. So there should be criteria of evaluation. So there a lot of, one thing I did, and I commented to the docs in Colombia, I had such a high respect seeing the results they were getting, and they were using such different work than I did. I used to judge my own colleagues because my way is the best way, because it was just all I knew. So I want to give a shout out to the doctors I was with, because what an amazing experience to have just value for all different styles of the art.
I actually received a question right before we jumped on this podcast because word got out that I was interviewing you today, and I was told to ask about the Gonstead technique and how it can be used to treat TMJ and airway issues.
Yeah, so the TMJ is the joint itself. It is a joint and it does move. So you can actually palpate the jaw, you can x-ray, and you could realign the actual TMJ. Remarkable work in chiropractic and TMJ. There are doctors, chiropractors that specialize with dentists, and they team up where the dentist is looking at the bite plates and the chiropractor is looking at the jaw alignment. The other issue is the first vertebra of the spine is literally millimeters away from the TMJ. It's like so close. So if you have distortion of the alignment, it actually can distort the TMJ. The last thing on TMJ is the TMJ is held up by the masseter muscle, which is perpendicular to the floor. When you alter your posture and your head's here like most people, it's no longer perpendicular. So you actually damage the jaw because we've lost the alignment. So there's many different components. So the Gonstead technique will have criteria, But I won't say it's just a Gonstead thing. There are a lot of techniques that specialize in helping TMJ. Airway issues, it depends on what it is. It's common after a whiplash. You have a whiplash accident. The nerves that control the throat and the trach get more constricted, so you may have swallowing or breathing or issues, discomfort in the throat. But it can also affect airways like the lungs. Asthmatics that get adjusted. You free the nerve function to the bronchioles. It's amazing, even during an asthmatic asthma attack, that you can get relief using improving the neurological function through chiropractic. It's pretty amazing. But like you were mentioning, there is a functional nutrition, functional medicine side that we can reduce inflammation through nutrition, other additional things you can do to the chiropractic work for airway concerns.
I hope that you're enjoying this episode brought to you by Aceva. Aceva offers all-natural, clinically inspired nutritional products which are designed to help you live life to your full potential. They create custom supplement packs that are tailored specifically to your needs. With Aceva, you take a short quiz, and from your answers, they build a custom supplement pack just for you. I've been using Aceva for a while now. I have more energy, I'm recovering faster, and I'm even sleeping better. And the best part is that these supplements come pre-packed and are labeled AM, PM, and before bed. This helps ensure that I'm getting exactly what my body needs when it needs it. If you're not taking a daily supplement or are just unhappy with your current one, I highly recommend taking Aceva's short quiz and trying one of their custom supplement packs. And if you use code LifeEdge at checkout, you'll save 50% off your purchase or subscription, but you'll also help support this podcast. You can find the link down below. Now back to our conversation. So that response and even the question itself was something I didn't realize that you could do work outside of just the neck and spine. What are other areas of the body that can receive chiropractic care?
I do a lot of work with the feet, plantar fasciitis, ankle sprains, bunions, all the foot problems. There's a lot of bones in that foot and they have to function. All the weight of the body's on there. And there's no one really looking at that alignment. It's a big cause of knee problems. Meniscal problems is when the feet collapse, the knee turns in and you have knee problems later on. So a knee doctor looks at the knee. A foot doctor looks at the foot. No one's looking at the chain. So even my good friend who's an orthopedic surgeon says, Joe, when I see the patient, I see an x-ray, I see arthritis, I say we need surgery. Next time I go in, they have the knee cut open, the skin's pulled back. I take my saw, I cut out the knee, and I put a new knee in. That's what we do. And I'm explaining how the alignment of the foot when it hits the floor, if it's not aligned well, it stresses the knees. And the surgeon's like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I never got trained on the gait. I'm trained on fixing a knee and replacing a knee. So it was interesting when you have these other big specialists learn from each other that if you have humility in healthcare, which is missing in healthcare, and practitioners work together, there's so much to learn on how a chiropractor could be the first line and then move to a surgeon down the line. Not surgeon first, which is a mistake. And there's big research on there. If you go to a surgeon first, the chance of surgery is like 60%. Chiropractic first, the chance of surgery is like less than 1%. It's really, I could send you the research if you want to put it in the show notes. Really interesting.
Yeah, please send it over. And I believe some of that too, because that's some of my issues. And you just in some of the medical fields, you get this conflict of interests when I don't make money unless I do surgery on you, or I don't make money unless I prescribe you something. And it becomes this conflict of interest somewhat when the focus isn't how do we heal the patient? It's also how do I pay my bills too? And it's really, go ahead. It's
true. I could tell you stories. I've had my office in many different medical industries. I've had offices in OB/GYN offices. I had my chiropractic office in a spine surgeon's office. I had offices in different medical groups. I'm really well versed in that conversation. At the end of the day, healthcare is about money. And what controls healthcare is not even the doctors. It's the pharmaceutical industry really controls all the legal, the laws, the teaching, the legislation. It's all the drug cartel, the pharmaceutical industry. But yeah, it's a money business. So you have to think of what's logical. When people battle chiropractic, I'm like, look at our malpractice cost versus surgeon, an anesthesiologist, an OBGYN. My car insurance is more expensive than my malpractice insurance. What does that tell you? There's more risk of you driving to my office than me hurting you. Risk-benefit ratio, actuaries are smart people that write insurance policies. They're not dumb. The risk of a chiropractor is less than the risk of your driving your own car. So we are the safest and should be the first line in every case all the time. Of course, they better be good chiropractors. And then it should be medicine, and then it should be surgery.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to go back to what you were talking about, the feet and meniscus. Is I actually have flat feet, and at 21, I blew out my meniscus on my right knee. And I was young enough that I was able to have it fully repaired, and I had to learn how to walk again. But if I don't have a good shoe with a good arch support, my knees hurt when I'm training, when I'm running. I can look down my legs with no shoes on, and if I raise my arches, my knees realign. And
wow, you figured that out. That's what we get. We get on our hands and knees. We take the foot and we say, "Let me build an arch." So watch your knee. They're like, their mind is blown. That simple thing. I said, "Why do you think you have a knee problem and your feet are flat?" Because the knees bow in right on that meniscus. It's a little piece of cushion. Do you think that could hurt? And they're like, "That makes so much sense." So in my organization, AlignLife, we have clinics across the country. We create custom orthotics. Now, very different than a podiatrist that casts an orthotic. They're more of an orthosis. It doesn't flex. We calibrate the orthotic based on your weight and your activity level, so it actually responds. It compresses and it moves to keep your arch functional. You don't want it fixed and hard because then you lose your muscles because you're not putting it through functional movement. The arch should flatten and raise as you're walking. So that's one of the differences you'll see in the offices that we run.
Well, I must say you're doing a pretty darn good job of convincing the skeptic of whether or not he should go see a chiropractor, especially one of your offices. The chiropractor I went and saw, and I see a lot of this as the business model, is just sign up for your membership and you get 6 adjustments per month. To me, that says this is just going to be a lifelong thing. But you had mentioned earlier that it should be a means to an end and not just we're just kind of giving you a Tylenol essentially.
It's a good discussion. There should be a means to an end to get through a point of crisis. Like, I'm coming in, I have pain down my leg, I can't walk straight, I can't bend over more than 10 degrees without pain. There's a crisis there. The means to an end is getting you functional back into crisis. The decision to use chiropractic as the safest, most cost-effective method of maintaining health, that's a different discussion. So after you're done getting stability, there is a decision that I would help you make of saying, we can continue periodically if you're still going to sit at a desk 8 hours a day, if you're going to be under the stress that you're currently on, if you're not going to drink water like you're supposed to, if you're not stretching every day, if you're doing the same exact lifestyle that caused the problem, getting checked once or twice a month, not checked, not adjusted, meaning they're going to evaluate and say, you need an adjustment, or evaluate, you don't need one today. But getting checked a couple of times a month will keep you in a very melodramatic position of just feeling good all the time. You go in without pain and you leave without pain. Doesn't sound as dramatic, but that's the way to live. We want to keep people not feeling anything. And like you said, the one thing I want to correct before we leave this call is you saying, well, I had an accident, didn't feel any pain. You cannot use pain as a factor of health. Because when someone says, I have cancer, did they get cancer the day they felt the lump on their breast? No, they got it 3 years ago. And people's first sign of heart disease, 40% of the time, is when they drop dead of a heart attack. Very bad to wait for a symptom for a heart disease or cancer. The same goes for function of your body. You need to maintain function, not wait till the wheel falls off your car to get an alignment of the car. If it's starting to wear the tire, go get your alignment. Don't wait till you blow out a tire. So chiropractic is used like aligning the car so you don't burn it, you don't ruin the tires. Same thing with your structure, your spine. I'll say, in dentistry, you have baby teeth, you have adult teeth, and you have false teeth. You got 3 sets of teeth you can have. In your spine, you just get one spine. There's no adult spine. There's no, they're trying to do some fake discs, not really working too well. They can fuse your spine, but you don't get a new spine. It's the only one you have. So you should put more emphasis on checking your spine than you do checking your teeth. Because the spine has nerves exiting between every bone that controls your body. The teeth make you look pretty, and they chew food. Not half the value as the spine, not even remotely.
Mm-hmm. Is there any time that you would suggest somebody avoid chiropractic care?
Yes, there are times. If someone has tumors on the actual spine itself, that there's risk. If they have bone cysts, if they have very, very advanced osteoporosis, you have to have a really skilled chiropractor that's not using a lot of force. Those would be 3 situations. Cyst, cancers on the bone, fracture. You can adjust compression fractures. In fact, you should. If a bone's compressed, you should compress it with an adjustment a different way. Some states don't allow that. But if you have a fracture where it's fracture in half, no, you would only be touching that bone. So you really do want an x-ray. Some of the profession does not x-ray. I would ask you to have an x-ray before you proceed with care.
Is there any long-term effects on joints and ligaments for being adjusted throughout your life?
It would be similar if people crack their knuckles in their hands, and if they do that 25 times an hour every day because it's a nervous twitch and you're doing this non-stop, you're irritating the joint because you're doing it 100 times a day. That could potentially, same thing in the spine. If you were to be adjusted 20 times a day, I don't think anyone's doing that. But no, the minor movement, occasional, hasn't been shown by research. What has been shown by research, in as little as 14 days, when a bone does not move, a vertebra does not move, there's microscopic signs of arthritic change at the ligament. Within as little as 2 weeks of a bone that sticks, you trip off a curb rung and you twist your neck and that bone doesn't move, you say, I don't feel anything. Microscopic beginning stages of arthritic changes can begin as short as 2 weeks to a month. So that's where we can't wait, because arthritis is a silent, slow process. And I think it's 1/5 of Americans are disabled with arthritis. So don't wait till you can't walk. Get the spine checked, an occasional x-ray with a skilled chiropractor before you have pain.
So then how often would you recommend somebody like me go get checked or at least examined?
Ideally, twice a month would be, but if you say, I'm not doing that, I don't care if you say once a month. I don't care if you say once a quarter. I don't care if you're twice a year. Ideally, because of the research I just told you, twice a month getting checked would be great. But never getting checked, when we look at the history of the average patient, 3 car accidents, fell in a tree, football injury, it's like, and what did they do? Well, they put a collar on. Did they check the spine? No. Well, I had the car accident. They gave me drugs. Did they check the spine? No. It's like, no one's looking at the spine. You have to check the spine for alignment with all the traumas that people have. So ideally, twice a month. But if you said once a year, I'd still give you a high five.
Well, I must say that having this conversation with you has been eye-opening because, like I said before, I've been skeptic, but I've never had somebody sit down and actually walk me through what's going on. And it makes your approach to chiropractic care and healing the body is very different than your approach is I'm trying to actually heal you, make you healthier, and keep you healthy, rather than I just need to start adjusting you so that you can cut me a check so that I can pay my bills. And that's how I've felt. Even prior, I had had some chiropractor influencers in my life that were like, hey, come get an adjustment, and I was like, but you have to give me a reason why, and you've laid out the reason why very brilliantly.
Well, thank you. And I think just to back the professional journey is, in the beginning, it was shunned so much. It was considered quackery. But if you look at history of healthcare, dentistry was considered quackery in the 1940s. Having dental caries getting checked periodically to clean your teeth was quackery. Now it's commonplace. Chiropractic was considered quackery in the 60s. The AMA tried to destroy chiropractic. Now Every professional team has a chiropractor. All the musicians have their own chiropractor. Chiropractic is in medical groups. It's in hospitals. It's now accepted as a mainstream, validated, researched, cost-effective, world-renowned, cheapest way of managing not only back pain, but many other conditions. So the people, we're still shunned a little bit, so some people are still having a hard time getting out of that pain because they're not as convicted as a communicator. So they may have a hard time running their business, and you could feel that in what you said. It's because of the shunning of the profession that guy's like, come get adjusted. It's because he may not have the communication skills to express the beauty and the honesty and the truth about how chiropractic can serve them and their family. That's kind of what I feel as to why you have some people in that manner. Does that make sense from the history a little?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you breaking that down. You had mentioned earlier that nutrition and supplementation can play a role in chiropractic care. Can you break that down a little bit?
It can play a role in healthcare because every physiological function of the human body, from making hydrochloric acid, requires a nutrient. Making the happy hormone serotonin requires a nutrient and an amino acid. Everything in the body has nutrition biochemistry around it, everything. So again, back to causation. If someone has an issue, do you want to take a pill that blocks the feeling of it in the brain so you don't feel pain? Or do you want to go to the source and fix the problem? A lot of medicine, not all medicine, a lot of medicine is just pain and symptom centric, which causes 3 to 5 more side effects than what they're trying to solve. Now, giving insulin to a diabetic is a functional solution. High five to people that figured out how to do that. There are some beautiful ways in genetic medicine and some of this other immunotherapies, brilliant work. But the conventional premise of medicine from the last 100 years is based on, most of it is symptom reduction by giving chemicals to humans that have many side effects. The functional nutrition, we're looking at causation of a breakdown of a flow of chemistry, which is a beautiful thing when you really study it in the human body. So we look at how can we fix metabolic function and increase neurology. You put those two together, I can tell you cases that I'm not allowed to talk about, from that big C word, from people that are supposed to be dead in 6 weeks, building a rock wall in their backyard 2 years later, 3 years later, and going to Disney World when they were supposed to be in a casket. How do you do that with nutrition? That's crazy. No. What about rheumatoid arthritis? From prednisone to nutrients, I'll show you work that'll blow your mind and make you drop tears. But across the spectrum of chronic disease, heart disease, autoimmune disease, cancer and heart disease, when you look at chronic disease, 70% of chronic disease is lifestyle based. That's written in research. It's not a lack of a need for a chemical in the body. Sorry, get all excited. I think sit down.
No, I love it. You're passionate about it, and the genuine honesty comes through in the way that you communicate it. So I appreciate it. As we start to wrap up, what is one lesson that you've learned in life that you want to share with the listener?
I go back to the opening, is gain a sense of self-awareness in your life, of your thoughts and your behaviors, because it'll impact every bit of your life, your relationships, your prosperity, your joy, your happiness, everything in your life. You have to really understand your thoughts, because it's your stories of your past that create your pain. If you eliminate stories, you have alertness to become self-aware of your thoughts, it will impact your behaviors and your actions, and it'll change your life. Whether it's, I keep popping this pill for the last 9 years and it gives me a headache every time, but that's what the doctor said. Is that reasonable? So I don't look at the majority movement in a direction of people and what they're doing. I ask the question, is that logical and reasonable based on what I know? And then I make better decisions on my relationships, my business, and my health. So hopefully that helps people. We get stuck in the mind-numbing monotony of life that we do the same thing, think the same thing, do the same behaviors, and then we live in the same consciousness that we had yesterday, and they never grow our consciousness. The only way to grow consciousness is self-awareness and changing thoughts and behaviors. And then you can live your dream life that I feel I'm living. I'm blessed to live that at this stage of my life.
Where can the listener go to connect with you, learn more about you, and even maybe get some of your services you offer?
Yeah, AlignLife.com, AlignLife, Align Life. Aligning your life, you align your spine, you align your health, you align your life. Because when you lose your health, you can have all the goals in the world. When you lose your health, you only have one goal, to regain your health. So the first thing in aligning your life is aligning your health. So AlignLife.com, if you're looking for this integrated healthcare model, to go to an actual center and walk in and meet somebody that understands this philosophy. Or Aceva.com if you're looking at nutrient solutions, everything from health coaches to lab testing to getting custom nutrient formulation shipped to your doorstep. That's Aceva.com. So yeah, we'd love to support you, help you in any way, even if it's a conversation. I'm the CEO of these companies. I founded it, and I just truly want people to live their human potential.
To anyone who wants to connect with Dr. Joe, I will make sure to put all those links down below in the show notes. If you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends so that we can continue to get great guests on here like Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe, I appreciate your time today. It's been a very life-changing conversation and eye-opening conversation for me. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity.